Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's the Michael Myers. Back again with a new video, a new live stream, to be exact. We're gonna be taking a look at this NECA Jason figure from the final chapter. So yeah, I wasn't gonna do this. I really don't like review or unbox as much figures. But I decided, man, for this one, we're gonna be unboxing it. I'm gonna give you guys the unboxing because I definitely want to get this one opened up. There's a few I do leave sealed, but for this one, I had to open it up, man. But Hot Pot Reviews, what's up, man? Hope you're doing good. Appreciate you tuning in. Happy Thursday. Yeah, definitely had to get. I know this is an older figure. It's been out for a while. Quick second, guys. Let me run to the room. It's been out for a while, man, and believe it or not, I don't own a lot of the Ultimate Jasons. I only have like 2 or 3. But of course, man, if I were to get another NECA Jason, I definitely had to get the Part 4. The Part 4 is my favorite Jason of all time. Ted White, and just the movie itself, man. My favorite, Friday the 13th. So yeah, actually was at Target yesterday. Did a little short video. They had a nice handful of stuff. That's why I did that short. And it's funny because I know one of you guys also did mention that these NECA figures were having a 25% off if you have the Target app, but I did not know that, and I did not have the app, so it is what it is. But like I said, the Part 4 had to get it, man, and I was gonna get the Halloween H2O. As soon as I saw the H2O, I was like, all right, I gotta get it. I know it's NECA's latest Myers figure, the Halloween H2O. But you know what? I think I'm gonna wait a little bit. I think I'm gonna wait till the Resurrection comes to retail. I really do want the Resurrection Michael Myers figure. I just think it's a lot more better looking than the H2O. But I will get the H2O down the line. I feel like the H2O is gonna be one of those NECA figures that you just see all the time, everywhere. And it might come down to clearance someday. So you guys know when they have overstock, shelf warmers or whatever, you waste some time, man, and it eventually goes to clearance. So, but like I said, I saw this Part 4. It's been a while since I've seen a Part 4 like out in the wild. Like I said, this is an older figure. A lot of the Jasons you really don't see as much out there. You do see like the Part 7. That was like their last one they came out with. You still see that. But like the early figures, Part 3, Part 2 is still around quite often everywhere. But without further ado, man, let's take a look at this packaging. Of course, iconic movie poster. Love this Part 4, the final chapter. There's a side. There we go. We got a nice read up right there. Of course, man, these Ultimate figures have a nice handful of accessories, as you guys can see. NECA did have a Part 4 prior to this, and I also brought out the Mezco one for a big comparison. This was like the very first Part 4 right here. I love this figure. Just the old school clamshell, man. Really dig this one. Always wanted to get it out of the box, but this is one of those I gotta keep in the box. But this one, we're definitely gonna be taking that out of the box. But yeah, this is NECA did do a Part 4 prior to this. They back in like 2012. They came out with a Part 3. This was only like a year or two before they started their Ultimate line. 2012, around that time, they came out with a Part 3 and a Part 4. Individually, they still had the classic clamshell boxes like this. I remember seeing those at Toys R Us back in the day, and never picked them up. But of course, a few years after, man, they came out with these Ultimate styles, and it was a game changer. I mean, These are the definitive, figures when it comes to these horror figures. But speaking of figures, man, I am gonna be doing before I do a major horror collection update. I'm gonna do a specific horror figure collection. I'm gonna be showing off all my NECAs, Mezcos, McFarlane, all that good stuff. Just a little preparation before we get the major collection update. Because once by the time I get to the collection update, the figures will make an appearance. Once we get to the big collection update, the figures are obviously gonna be there, but I don't think it will do it justice, to all of them individually once they're displayed. So I'm gonna just do before I do the major collection update, I'm gonna do a specific horror figure collection. So definitely stay tuned for that. NECA needs to make an Ultimate 78 Myers Hot Pot reviews. I definitely agree. They got to do the rest of the Myers. I know they went crazy with Jason back when the rights were secured. And like I said, the Part 7 was like the last one they did before the rights were scattered. But yeah, I mean, now that they came out with the Resurrection, H2O, Halloween, hopefully it's a good sign that we get the others, 78, Ultimate would be great. I still have the original NECA 78 Myers from the 2000s, which is one of my favorite figures, without a doubt. But an update would be cool, an Ultimate would be cool, for sure. Oh yeah, Hot Pot. Yeah, the Part 3. I've seen it a nice handful of times, but not as much out there. I remember my Part 3. I got it online on eBay years ago. I think back when they had initially came out. And one thing too about these Ultimates, I really, I mean, of course, majority of my collection contains horror figures. Of course, figures and masks are the most things I go after. But the thing that kind of sucks when it came to, like I said, the Ultimate line, great, extra accessories. I know we've had some of these figures prior to the Ultimate line before. With limited accessories, the Ultimate just gave us a handful of accessories. But when these Ultimate figures came about, that's when you started getting all these bootlegs, knockoffs. And and those, my very first two Ultimate figures I've ever bought back in like 2017 was the Chucky and the Part 3 Jason. I ordered those on eBay. And I guess they ended up being knockoffs, the fakes. So once we got, pretty much my point is, once we got to these Ultimate line of figures, we got flooded with fakes and bootlegs. And I spent a lot of time, kind of hesitant even buying these Ultimates because, you could end up with a fake or a bootleg. So my recommendation, I rather prefer, I suggest you guys, if you guys are going to buy any NECA Ultimate figures, definitely get them retail. Get them at your store. I know the NECA website is obviously guaranteed, but I heard the customer service is not that great over there. Little independent shops and stuff like that. Instead of going for them on eBay, for example, when I got my very first two Ultimates, the Chucky and the Part 3 Jason, we usually try to go after the cheaper ones, cheaper priced ones, and without me knowing, I ended up getting some knockoffs. So you guys definitely got to be careful with that. Like I said, one of the main reasons I've avoided Ultimates for a while, man, because especially online, I like to get my NECAs retail at the stores, just so it could be guaranteed. Because even you could even get a fake on eBay for the same price as a real one. So stuff like that does happen. So you definitely guys got to be careful. I know there's videos of like people comparing the real ones and the fake. But sometimes, you can't really tell. Because I mean, the very first 78 Myers NECA figure they came out with, really popular bootleg, a lot of, it's like, once they bootleg certain stuff, or they re-release certain stuff. Like for example, I know recently Trigger Tree Studios released a Rob Zombie Michael Myers figure, our very first Rob Zombie Myers figure since the NECA ones. And ever since Trigger Tree Studios released that Rob Zombie Myers figure, which I might get, I'm not sure. Ever since then, the original NECA Rob Zombie Myers went down in price. So I feel once they reproduce stuff, the original product kind of goes down in price. But there's the background, just like some rain scenario. That's cool too. They have like a background for most of these NECA figures. But like I said, man, I was at Target yesterday and I kind of was, I had to get one. Couldn't choose between this one or the new H2O figure. But I mean, this figure just looks lovely, man, and I had to get it. Like I said, my favorite Jason of all time. Let's get some of these accessories out. Pamela Voorhees tombstone. Really nice, man. Solid plastic piece. You know what? I really should have left them. Well, screw it. Give you guys a closer look. Got a butcher knife right there. Some blood. Nice paint job. Pretty cool. Like I said, usually when I buy these Ultimates, I take out the figure. I leave the accessories in the package just so I won't lose them. There's this thing. Not sure what it is. Definitely got to rewatch the movie. But I'm pretty sure it's part of, a lot of the iconic kills. Of course, the axe. Not the axe. The hatchet. Solid paint job, dude. Definitely not bad at all. I do have like a box full of NECA accessories. So I might have to place these there. We got an alternative hand. As sweet as these accessories are, I've never been a huge fan of like the alternate hands. You got to switch some of the hands for it to carry various of the accessories. But I mean, it's worth it. Like I said, back in the day, we would, the original Part 4 release back in 2011, 2012, I think only came with like the machete and the axe. But of course, man, the Ultimate line gave us a lot more cool shit. Got the axe. Like I said, man, Part 4, it just looks sick, dude. I know they also have like an 18-inch of this Jason. Got the alternative head right there with the blood. I'm pretty sure does this one have the blood? Of course, man, by Part 4, he's all battle damage and everything. I just love Part 4, man. I love the movie. I love the Jason. Richard Brooker was great in Part 3. And if you really don't look deep into it, you really wouldn't expect. Like me growing up, I always thought, the actor from Part 3. Oh shit. The actor from Part 3 was the same from Part 4 because they're really up there. That's a nice debate. Richard Brooker or Ted White. Definitely let me know who do you guys thought was the better Jason. They're both really good. Like I said, even growing up, I always thought it was the same Jason, but Ted White's always gonna be one of my favorites. Of course, we got a Kane Hodder, which is a major fan favorite. But for me, man, it's always gonna be Ted White. I always struggle with these. There we go. I think I'm gonna go get my Part 3. I'm gonna go get my Part 3 Jason in comparison, even though it's a bootleg knockoff. Wow, really nice, man. Like I said, I've always wanted this. Part 4. If I were to get, I think, if I had a chance to get down the line, whenever I get a chance to get a Jason, I'll probably go after the Part 6 next. Definitely gotta get Roy Burns too. That's one too. Oh yeah, Roy Burns is another one you really don't see out there, man. I really should have seen. I've seen it a few times when it was out, but I passed on it. I really should have got it. I've seen it at a few like small collectible shops, but they are a little pricey, a little bit over the $40 these guys go for. So once I find the Roy Burns for the right price, I'm all over it. But here it is, dude. Really nice. I just like the mask stands out really nicely. That yellowish kind of olive color. That's one thing too, man. That made me want to grab this one over the H2O Jason. Is how nicely it's made. Nicely painted, I should say. Just a nice standout. You got the axe wound. Got some blood. Of course, not as much as this one. I'm pretty sure this one's based on the end of the movie. When Corey Feldman, you know, has his mask to remove and stuff like that. But really sick, dude. We got the olive green shirt, which is not as green as in part 3. I will be bringing it out just in comparison. Of course, man, by part 4, it's definitely more weathered. But of course, man, the classic green olive shirt. Got the pockets. That's one thing too, man. Neca always knocks it out with the paint job, sculpt, and everything. Got the pants. Got some, weathering detail. I know, like, when they do like a big spot of like weathering, it kind of looks like it was obviously painted in there instead of being like the weathering smoothly being dragged out through everywhere. It's just like a big paint spot there, but not the biggest deal. Jason has black nails for some reason. I hope they're dirt and they're not painted or anything. Kind of strange. I hope they're under his fingernails. But yeah, it's a nice figure. It's a nice figure. Like I said, definitely captures that part 4 look. Let's remove his hockey mask. Or I think this one's based off the end of the movie because he no longer has his chevrons right here. He has half a chevron up there. And then this one has like the other two, even though there's more blood right there. But yeah, let's remove it. Take a look at his. This in part 4 when he gets unmasked at the end by Corey Feldman. One of the very first times we've seen Jason unmasked. So for me, when I think of Jason unmasked, I right away go to that shot in part 4, because it was one of the early times we saw Jason unmasked. I know in part 3 at the end he was also unmasked, but for me, I always think of the part 4 look. Really nice, man. Good stuff here. This part 4 is badass, man. Really is. Like I said, I already had a part 4 right here. The early Mezco, which is still a really nice figure. But definitely, I wouldn't take this one out of the box simply because of the clamshell box. But this one's really nice. Let's throw on his machete, or let's take a look at this one. Closer look. I might switch to this one, man. I think the mask might stand out a little bit more on this one. Even the back of the head, as you guys can see. Got the buckles painted in there. Yeah, man, they always do a good job with these. Neca. Neca's been the superior company. Like I said, we got Mezco, a lot of more great stuff. We'll go more into detail, when I do the horror figure collection update. Gonna be showing off all the Necas, Mezcos, So yeah, man. I mean, pretty much that's how I started my horror collection. Fun fact: I know most of you guys probably know. I started horror collecting because of figures. You know, because of NECA. You know, I had no idea they made horror figures until I saw, you know, the 2010 Freddy Krueger at Toys R Us when I was a kid. And that was like the biggest thing ever, dude, because I had no idea they made horror figures. I was already into horror, you know, back then, but I had no idea they made like figures. So back in 2010, when I saw that Freddy, I was like blown away. It was like the best shit ever. And ever since then, you know, I started my horror collecting journey, you know. So started with figures, eventually started with then it went to masks. But yeah, that's how I started my my horror collection overall is by figures. Trying to get this guy to stand up. But he looks really sick, dude. I've even was tempted a couple times to get the 18-inch version of this guy. Never been the biggest fan of the 18 inches. Not because they're pricey or anything, you know. You do come across some 18 inches for a solid price. You know, you just constantly got to be looking on eBay and stuff like that. So there is times where you could get them for cheap. But ever since, like I said, ever since I started collecting these 7-inch figures, these were always for me. Like I said, I have one 18-inch, but not the biggest 18-inch collector. My Part 4 figure looks pretty sketchy though. You know what, Hot Pot? Yeah, I think that also does count a lot. You know, the paint job, obviously, you know, it's always gonna vary with the older produced, you know, the early productions. Uh, some figures, probably this one, is still being produced to this day. So some of those figures that are still being produced to this day might have a slight variation on the paint job than their initial release. But yeah, it could be that. Like I said, paint job always varies with these mass produced stuff. But I hope you did not get a knockoff bootleg Hot Pot. But I mean, there's various ways to tell. You guys could there's like videos of like people comparing them. But I hope not, man. I hope not. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, the bootlegs are really well made done. Like if you're not educated enough, you could oh shit. You really wouldn't tell the difference, but freezing 115. Yo, what's up, man? What's up? Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hot Pot reviews, very very true, man. Yeah, like I said, Richard Brooker and Ted White are definitely up there. Like I said, you really couldn't tell me that it was two different people playing Jason. Like I said, we have our favorites, Kane Hodder. Uh, you know, people resonate Jason more with them. But you definitely gotta also give it up to the OGs, man. Richard Brooker and Ted White, because they were the originals that carried on the at least Jason with the hockey mask, you know. Even though, like I said, Kane Hodder and has become the Jason, surpassed a lot of the Jason guys. But to me, yeah, it's always gonna be Ted White and Richard Brooker. Freezing 115, I very much agree with you, man. The Part 9 Jason Goes to Hell, one of my favorite designs of Jason. I always love this classic look with the olive green shirt. But as far as like Deadeye Jason, Zombie Jason, Monster Jason, whatever you want to call him, Part 9's my favorite. Part 9's my favorite. If Part 4 is not my favorite, Part 9 is my favorite. Those are my two favorites right there. And I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for NECA to do an ultimate Jason from Part 9. And like the rights recently got resolved. They're now coming out with more. For example, they did announce the Savini Jason from the Friday the 13th game. I know those have been really popular, man. A lot of the Friday the 13th, the game stuff, Spirit Halloween carried like the Savini mask, the retro mask. So I get it. It's smart. It's a smart strategy. If they come out with merchandise associated with the video game, I think that's a no-brainer. I think that's a quick sell. Uh, but I hope they go back to basics, man, and continue the line. Like I said, Jason Goes to Hell. And I know once we got to Jason Goes to Hell, it's a different rights holders. By Part 9, it was New Line Cinema. It wasn't Paramount no more. Just like yesterday, the past 2 nights, the Friday marathon has been playing, I think, on the Miramax channel. But they only go up to Part 8, Part 1 to Part 8, because obviously that's the original set of Friday films, by Paramount. So they skip most of the time. They do skip Part 9, Jason X, because by that time it's different license holders, New Line Cinema. But like I said, man, I hope it's all resolved and we get a Part 9. Part 9 Jason. How many Myers figures do I have? I only got I got one McFarlane, the older McFarlane Myers. I got the older 78 Michael Myers from the 2000s. And I also have the Ultimate Part 2, which was really exciting at the time because that was like their first Myers figure in a long time. And I have the Rob Zombie Michael Myers from the 2000s. What other one I have? And then I have the 2018 and the Halloween Kills. That's about it. Oh, and the Halloween 6, which is really nice. One of the main reasons I'm not in a rush to get the H2O figure, it kind of does resemble the Curse of Myers in a way. But I still really want to get it, man, because I really want to. If I do get the H2O figure, I want to display it with the CGI mask. I don't know. I think the best thing about the new H2O figure is the CGI mask as an accessory, alternative head. Zebra's World, yeah, it is not the greatest film. It's honestly, I've always dug the film. But yeah, that's one thing that we could all agree on. Part 9 Jason. One of the best Jason's designs of all time. Definitely getting the Savini figure. Yeah, man. Like I said, the Savini Jason, really popular. A lot of those, designs of Jason's associated with the video game did really good. Like I said, Spirit Halloween even came out with a mask, which is crazy, dude, because, I've seen them as Spirit. And then I look on eBay, dude, and people are just overcharging them for some reason. Like I said, the people who, what do they call them? The scalpers? Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. But it's cool. I mean, when we got the news about the Savini Jason, I probably won't get it. Like I said, I'm not the hugest fan. Not the biggest fan of the retro Jason either. But it's nice to see that they're moving on with the Jasons. So hopefully it's the beginning of something good, man. Like I said, I would love to see a Part 8, a Part 9. Heck, give us a Jason X. Why not, But really, really cool. That's cool, man, that you're going to get the Savini one. Oh, yeah, you're right, Hot Pot. Yeah, they did also come out with a new Pennywise from the new series. I think I only own one Pennywise from the remake. They came out with a whole lot of Pennywise from the remakes. I think the one that I own, well, it's my brother's. I think it's from Chapter 2, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that's the only Pennywise from the remake I have from Chapter 2, which is my brother's. And he also does have the original Tim Curry Pennywise. That's what's up, Zebra's World. Appreciate you tuning in, man. Appreciate you stopping by, spending some time. Definitely means a lot. Oh yeah, for sure. Halloween 4, that's gonna be the one. That'll definitely be the one. Once they announce that, I'm all over it. It was exciting to see when they announced the 6, H2O, and Resurrection. But the Halloween 4, yeah, I think that one's gonna hit different if they do. I know Fright Rags is coming out with a 2-pack, a 2-pack of Myers and Jamie Lloyd, which I definitely want to go after, man. Hopefully I do get that. It's like the very first officially licensed Halloween 4 item. Definitely want to go after that. Oh yeah, Zebra's World. Yeah, scalpers is just, and I know when it comes to horror stuff like this, it's not really as prominent. Maybe it is, but I see scalpers more when it comes to like other stuff. I see like little shorts on like Instagram, especially like video game stuff, Pokemon stuff. That's really popular when it comes to the scalpers. Not as much as this stuff because I don't know, I don't think there's a lot of value, when it comes to these, when it comes to these horror stuff. So let's say we get a new NECA figure, in stock. We get a new release, a new NECA release. I don't see people going after them and buying a shit ton of them to resell because, like I said, I don't think the value's there. I think there's enough produced merchandise for these. They're produced in the millions, so I don't think it would be worth scalping for this stuff. But I know other stuff like Pokemon stuff and other stuff like that, people go crazy, man. And, you know, it's ridiculous. Oh, yeah, for sure, Hot Pot. Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, NECA did a shit ton of it from the remakes. It's hard to tell which one's which. They kind of look all the same to me, but I mean, it's a hot seller. It's a hot seller, so business move. It's kind of smart, I guess. Especially it, man, blowing up with the remake, man, became bigger than ever. Glad NECA cares and they release figures they already had. Can't wait to finally get the Nest Jason. Yeah, man, for sure. I remember I had a chance, man, getting back when Toys R Us was still open, man. One of their last few years, I had a chance to get that Nez one. You know, even the mask, they were selling the mask, but like I said, since it's not part of, it really wasn't part of like Jason from any of the movies. It kind of didn't really get my attention. But it's pretty cool. If I were to pick like, if I were to get if I had a choice, either to get the Savini Jason or the Nez Jason, I'll probably get the Nez one for sure. Quick second, guys. All right, so I went to go get my part three, Jason. Before I go, brought out my part three for a quick comparison. Here it is. Of course, man, more of a brighter color. It's not as weathered as this one. But like I said, dude, this one could be a bootleg. I know for sure my Chucky one is a bootleg, but this one, I think it might be because from what I've seen in some videos, this part three, the white t-shirt under is visible. And this one, it's right there, but it's painted green. And I guess with the real ones, you could actually see the white t-shirt. Like I said, it's still nicely detailed. Or it could simply be one of their earlier productions of this part three Jason. I'm not really sure. Another thing is like down here. It's like rubbery. It's kind of ripped. Ever since I got it's been like kind of loose as well. But like I said, I'm not sure if it's a bootleg version or just their early productions. Like I said, once they produce more, they kind of do update the detail a little bit. But I mean, they look really nice together, man. Like I said, this one's a nice weathered version of this one. And yeah, these always go in handy. But yeah, I'm glad this one's not as loose. Sometimes I get NECAs, they are kind of loose. This one's not as much. I'm just having a hard time to stand this guy. I've also seen too, man, people get their figures kind of broken. I don't know if it has to do with their later, NECA's later produced products, but yeah, I definitely seen that a lot. In stores, you open the figure, right? You open this thing to take a look at the figure, and you got like pieces spread out throughout the box. Gonna change the head. I think I prefer this one right here. But yeah, man, I'm really glad I went after this part four. Like I said, I really haven't bought a NECA figure in a while. I think the last one was the Halloween six, or no, I'm lying. The last one was the I think it was the Exorcist, dude. I've been as much as great as these Ultimate figures are. I still very much like to go after their older figures. Like I said, man, I hopefully it's probably not my next video, but hopefully this weekend. This weekend I will be filming. Oh, I got the wrong mask there. This weekend, hopefully, if I do have time, I get the chance, I will be filming that video. A horror figure collection where I will be showing all my NECAs, not just NECAs, but Mezco, McFarlane, Trick or Treat Studio. I really don't have any Trick or Treat Studios figures. Do I? Oh, I think I only like one, but as far as their 7-inch figures, I know Trick or Treat Studios. What's cool about them coming out with figures is that they're coming out with figures that NECA hasn't made, or hasn't made an updated version, like Candyman. Pretty cool to see Trick or Treat Studios do that. Jeepers Creepers, a new Rob Zombie Myers. So that's cool that Trick or Treat Studios is doing that. They're not as in scale with these NECAs. I think the Tots figures run, I think, like 8 inches. But characters like Candyman, Jeepers Creepers, the Rob Zombie Myers could probably fit right along your NECAs because those characters are meant to be tall as hell. So it wouldn't be too bad. But I heard Trick or Treat Studios is releasing a Leprechaun figure. That's the one I'm really looking forward to. And I think some Hellraiser figures next year. But the ones that they came out with this year, not too bad. I was gonna get the Jeepers Creepers one, but I actually ended up finding Jeepers Creepers, the older one, from, I think, what was it? I think it was like Soda Toys. Really rare figure. I found that for like $40, dude, and I went after it. But yeah, man. With the gravestone and then yeah, I very much agree. Zebra's World, I think Ultimate Rob Zombie Myers would be great. For me, I really want them, since I already own the first Rob Zombie Michael figure. Honestly, that one still does it for me. Like I said, I very much still go after the older ones. They still do the trick for me. Even though some of them do lack like the articulation. But a Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I definitely would love to see that. One figure in my bucket list is the Rob Zombie Halloween 2 figure by Mezco, though, the one that they came out back when the movie came out. Definitely, always on the lookout for that one. Prices always vary, but I'm still trying to wait, see if I could come across it for a solid price. You know what I mean? Do you own the Freddy versus Jason figure? Yes, I do own. That was actually my very first, or not my very first. My very first Ultimate was this part 3. But after this part 3, I did get the Freddy versus Jason. I remember when they announced that, dude. It was really exciting, because that's another great figure, man. And I remember by that time I already kind of knew about the whole bootleg thing, so I made sure I didn't didn't go on eBay or anything like that to get a fake one. So I think for the Freddy versus Jason, I got it like on the NECA website or something like that. With the robe. Oh, Zebra's World. Are you talking about the Myers with the ghost sheet? Yeah, man. Those figures have definitely skyrocketed in price. There's a lot of back when Tots had not Tots, NECA had the 78 license in the 2000s. They came out with a shit ton of 78 figures. The evolution of Evil 2 pack with the young Michael. Would love to own that one, man. Holy Grails for sure. We got the Bob Sheet, the Ghost Sheet one. We got like the night he came home set with Dr. Loomis. They went all out when they had the 78 license, you know? Oh yeah, for sure. Zebra's World. Yeah, for sure. It's like the Yeezys of like of NECA's. Uh, for sure, man. A lot of pricey shit. But like I said, sometimes people know what they have. Sometimes people don't. You just gotta be lucky and constantly looking. Hot pot reviews. I really hope so. I really hope this is an older model. Like I said, all these years I've always thought it was like a bootleg. And I remember too, dude. I bought this and it came with no box. That's one thing too. Oh shit. Uh, I had ordered it brand new, but it came with no box. It came with all the accessories, but it came with no box. Back in like 2017 when these had came out. So yeah, Hapa. That's one thing. I'm not really 100% sure with this one. It's either an older model or a bootleg. But I know for sure one bootleg that I do have is the Chucky, which was my very first Ultimate figure ever. Like I said, I didn't know any better, so I think I got like the cheapest one that was on eBay, and ended up be most of the time, the fake ones come from China. Uh, but you also gotta watch out, man, because some people might, in the states might have a fake one, a bootleg one, and they might just trying to get their money back, and you know, you really don't know. So, like I said, if I were you guys, I prefer buying your NECAs in the stores, or ordering them from a solid website. You could order them from your retail. You could order them from Target, Walmart. Like I said, NECA is the most guaranteed one, but I heard the NECA website has a lot of customer service issues. But I really hope so, Hapa. I really hope it's an older model. Oh yeah, for sure, Hapa, an Ultimate Creeper. Like I said, Tots came out with the Jeepers Creepers, but I think NECA. Like I said, I know for me, when it comes to figures, NECA's the one. When it comes to Tots, masks are the ones. Like I said, even though Tots has came out with a lot of figures that NECA hasn't, but who knows? I might get a Tots figure down the line, because I really never had one. So maybe once I have one, I could kind of compare a Tots and a NECA. But I think we could all agree, man, NECA's the superior. They've been in this, for the longest. You know what I mean? Even NECA has done masks. They had the Freddy gloves, different kinds of props. They did Chucky dolls as well after, the success of like Trick or Treat Studios, Chucky dolls. And from what I've seen people say NECA should just stick to figures and Tots should just stick to masks and stuff like that. Like I said, I couldn't tell you how Tots figures are. I couldn't tell you how NECA, masks are, other than the Jason masks. They're quite fragile. I could see Tots doing a better job with hockey masks. But and like I said, the when it comes to like the Chucky dolls, the Tots ones have been more popular. So each company's they each have their ups and downs. But at the end of the day, it's cool to see both companies tackling down both stuff, man. Like I said, horror overall merchandise has grown so big, it's like a no-brainer. Oh yeah, for sure. Zebra's World, the Halloween six figure, really nice figure. Um, the mask is pretty nice as well. Over Same here. Overall, the movie, the mask, everything. Michael himself has grown on me throughout the years, man. Like I said, Halloween six was the worst one at one point, but now it's like in my top five or something like that. If I look back at my ranking video, um, Nona Nona Misfits. Sorry if I said that wrong. What's up, man? Uh, But that's gonna be pretty much it, dude. Just wanted to do a quick live, little unboxing, give you guys a look at this Jason from part 4. Stay tuned for more videos. I have a few. I got a little few stuff to do today. As far as like going out, I'll see if I'll try to go to like a different Target or something, man, and see what they got. Maybe snag another one. Who knows? Like I said, I know one of you guys did mention they're like 25% off on the app, on the Target app. So if you guys are looking forward to that, check out the app, get like a 25% off at Target or whatever. But yeah, man, I'm gonna be out and about today. Hopefully, I see some interesting stuff, and I might go live. If I go somewhere and there's, you know, if I see some cool stuff worth going live, I might do it, or I might just do a little short video. But I'm gonna wrap it up here, you guys. Stay tuned for more videos. Got some new videos coming up. Hopefully, I go live this weekend again. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a while. Zebra's World, Hot Pot Reviews. Appreciate you guys, man. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. It's the Michael Myers signing out.